what can you expect from the Formula E season opener in Mexico City? Now, obviously, this is coming on the back of the fact that if you look at the Formula E website at the moment, it is in the worst state that I've ever seen it in over the last 4 years. What are your
Absolutely.
thoughts going into this season opener in Mexico City? I think the season opener is on Saturday, so about 5.5 days. What are your thoughts going in?
Yeah, I mean, see, the Formula E website has never been the greatest website or never been the most well maintained websites in motorsport, right? But given the fact that Formula E has so many operational and logistical issues on the racing side, the website was the sort of easiest thing that they could get 100% correct, which is not true. I just saw that in the Hyderabad Times were shown in January and 6 hours rather than plus 5 hours 30 minutes and things like that. But in terms of racing, the least we can expect is obviously all cars like zero reliability issues
No,
because
I
that
think you're
is
expecting too much there. I mean, I'll be
no, I mean, I mean,
I will be surprised if even half of the grid finishes the race.
yeah, that's true,
And
that's
I'll be
true. But
surprised if the entire grid shows up for the race in the first place.
yeah, but I guess the first target in a way should be reliability and having all the cars or the maximum number of cars finish the race and take it from there. Even if it means compromising performance in some way, reliability comes ahead.
Yeah, I think you brought up a great point, and I think the race did an article on this last week where they talked about how because there's a drivetrain, in the front now, on the front axle, it is damaging the chassis, the composite chassis, much more easily than what we had in the previous season, and it's taking much longer to repair the chassis and the drivetrain component than it would, and it might lead to Formula E drivers who may have had a crash in qualifying or practice session miss out on the race, unlike what we saw earlier this year. So unless teams are traveling with an extra chassis like back in the day, you may not see your favorite driver racing that day after a crash. So that's a big question mark. And additionally, I think it was Lucas Grassi who had a crash in the Mahindra, and he talked about how if you have like a front axle contact, basically, if the nose of the car hits another car in the front, you might be out of the race more easily than last year. And this is something we were anticipating going into the season after we saw the design of the Gen 3 car, which was revealed last year in April. But it will be a huge concern, especially, I mean, given the fact that essentially you're streets on the same circuit that you were last year, and we saw how much carnage
Yeah,
Formula E brings with itself.
yeah. I mean, the carnage. There's more power. There's more speed. The carnage is still there, and the structure of the car is slightly changed. So while the Gen 2 was more closely raceable and more contactable, like say a NASCAR is, right? The
Yeah,
the
like
new Gen,
they called it strategic contact or something like that, and there was like a disciplinary penalty which was awarded towards the last couple of seasons for making basically allowing yourself
yeah,
to carry more speed through a corner by or defending via contact or something like that.
yeah. But I mean, the new cars are definitely more vulnerable, even in the highest of reliability uh, settings, right? So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting, very interesting how Formula E goes about it. And since we have so many logistical and supply chain issues already, as you said, the first couple of races, even getting a spare chassis to the race is going to be very difficult, and people are going to miss races
Yeah,
in the first
again,
half. Yeah,
a really great. You make a really great point that not only do the teams need more time in order to repair the chassis and other components that might come with the car, but they might not even have those components in the first
yeah,
place
yeah,
to repair the car or put together another car because of the supply chain issues that Formula E has been experiencing. Especially if there's motors or any part of the drivetrain or the batteries, they might not have another battery pack on hand to replace the current one. But yeah, I mean, moving on from the technical side and things that could go extremely wrong. Obviously, again, in my opinion, and this opinion has not changed at all. Formula E has not done a great job in hyping up. Basically, not have the teams done that in hyping up the
Yeah,
season 9 opener this weekend. There hasn't been a
not at
build
all.
up per se at all. The few posts that I've seen so far have been from the drivers themselves, which is almost sad to see that no one is promoting the sport like they should be. They should be. But we have talked about the marketing aspect and the sales aspect of Formula E a lot of times, and we have established the fact that there is something really wrong with that. And it doesn't seem to be improving anytime soon. However, let's move on from that and let's look at the competitive aspect. What are you expecting will be settles after the first round of the season opener?
That's a very difficult question to answer because it's again a complete set of new rules, new car. All those aside, it's still a new car, right? It's still everyone's still learning, and even the tires are new. The when you expect teams like Jaguar, who almost reached the peak last season, like with in terms of competitiveness and things like that. Right now, they are nowhere. They had a very average sort of preseason. Like no one had a good preseason as such. But even the top teams like Jaguar and no, now McLaren, previously Mercedes, had pretty average preseasons. So I think at the end of the day, it would come down to driver performance, and rather than team performance in the starting couple of races, I guess. So yeah, maybe Sam Bird or Mitch Evans, people like them who have been performing consistently throughout the seasons, may steal the show in the starting few races.
Yeah, I mean, McLaren did have a lot less reliability issues compared to their rivals on the grid, and I think DS Techeetah were also up there with reliability alongside McLaren. I think those two teams were the least affected by reliability issues
Yeah,
during testing. Although we have to remember that McLaren is supplied by Nissan and not by Mercedes anymore, so the powertrain is different, even though the people working at the team might be the same. So who knows what's going to happen? But if I were to take an educated guess based on what happened in preseason testing, I'd go out on a limb and say we might see the DS Cheetahs leading early just based on reliability and performance we saw. We might see McLaren's maybe not competing with the Cheetahs, but again.
DS Penske is now. It's DS Penske is now.
Sorry. Yes, that is correct.
Yeah.
That is correct. It's DS Penske. So we might see the DS Penske's up there, and followed by the McLarens. Hoping for a top 10 Mahindra finish at least in the first couple opening rounds. I don't think that's too much to ask for.
Yeah,
And again, it seems like the Jaguar powertrain is not doing very well. Not only did Jaguar had issues, but Envision Racing was also having a lot of issues with powertrain. So we'll see how their season pans out. But given what we saw again in testing, I am expecting DS Penske to be up there.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, they do have the best driver lineup in anybody's opinion. To be fair, with Stoffel Vandoorne and Jev, so it's going to be a very exciting and dynamic partnership there. But I also am very excited to see how the apt Cupra team starts off, because I think it's a new team. It like they haven't taken over any previous team. So
I don't think so. Even if they did, I'm not sure.
yeah, but again, it's a new team, and they have Robin Freins and Nico Muller, who are good racers. And Robin Freins,
I mean, I am a Robin Freins fan.
yeah, exactly.
I was always
Robin
He
Freins,
was always in my good books all throughout.
Robin
throughout
Freins
last
is a
season.
brilliant race, consistent driver, but he's like, we never saw him make that final step, sort of like he
Yeah.
never reached
Yeah.
a title challenge like Mitch Evans did in a way, right? But
Yep.
yeah, it's going to be exciting, not like it was last year. Like last year, we were all hyped up about it being the most competitive grid, and all those things. It's still going to be exciting. It's Formula E,
Yeah,
but
I
in a
think
different way,
it's
I
also
guess.
important to it's also important to temper our expectations a little bit, because yes, we've talked about reliability issues and whatnot, but let's be honest, every new technical regulation
Yeah,
change brings along with it reliability issues. So let's not pretend that Formula E is the only one having reliability issues. NASCAR had reliability issues early in the season and across the season. Formula One had to take drastic measures to solve, the safety issues it was having, and then we also saw teams within F1 this past year, like McLaren, have reliability issues with their brakes with the new designs. And then, so it's not like, reliability issues are a thing of the past with new regulations. They still exist. It's just that because there's a single manufacturer providing the battery and a few other components, the reliability issues affect a lot of people, except instead of one or two
yeah,
teams,
yeah, exactly.
as they might in other formats. So that is one thing I think we need to temper expectations there. But anything else about the season opener in Mexico City before we move on to our next question?
Well, we have a couple of rookies in a way. We have Sasha Fenestras, who I think raced one race in the last
Yeah, yeah,
season or the season before that, but he's sort of
yeah,
a rookie with Nissan. And we have Jake Hughes with McLaren. Jake Hughes also did some testing with Formula E previously, but again, he's a rookie. So I think those two are the only rookies. Nico Muller and Nico Muller and I'm so sorry, René Rast. Yeah, René Rast are returning to Formula E again. So it's going to be it's going to be very